Hi, Josh. I'm super excited you're here today. For those of you watching, I am Cappi Pidwell. I'm a master of NLP and a speaker, and I coach people and help them rewire their mindset to make more money, get rapid results, and increase the bottom line in their business. So I figured today I would pull back the curtain and have an amazing conversation with a client and who's become a dear friend over the years, Josh. He's going to tell you about himself in just a moment, but Josh and I worked together many years ago, so I'm going to have to take you way back, Josh. While we share this information with you as a viewer, I want you to hear it from Josh's perspective, because just like you, Josh is a business professional. He wanted to get new outcomes. He wanted to have breakthroughs. He's super sharp, super smart, was doing all the right things. And then we met, and you'll hear our story in just a few moments. So stay tuned for that. So Josh, welcome. And please introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Cappi. I really do appreciate it. And it's always good to see you. And also take a trip back in the memory. My name is Josh Niehaus. I work for the Elite Group Property Inspections. I am now the Chief Revenue Officer of the company. I've worked here for 16 years. And our company, we do home inspections, mold inspections, termite, roof certifications, commercial inspections, sewer camera, and solar. We really serve the real estate industry and the buyers who are buying homes in Southern California with all those services.
I love it. And I know that your company is amazing and you're so thorough in everything you do. So I'm happy to introduce you certainly to my audience. I deal with a ton of real estate agents as well, and I coach a ton of them and speak at a lot of offices, as well as anybody who has to self-generate in sales. So Josh, I want to kind of start at the beginning, and I think we've talked about how long we've known each other, and I know it's been quite a while because your life has dramatically changed. But I want to take you back to you before you saw me speak. So I don't know if that was 12 years ago that we determined, but I know it's been a little while. But I want to kind of take you back, and I want to ask you at that point if you can remember. I remember very well. But like, what was your biggest challenge in your business? Like, what were you facing at that time before we met?
My biggest challenge is I was working extremely hard externally. I was, what I felt was doing all the right things, constantly reading books, constantly attending seminars, just obsessed with personal growth. And the goal was growth. And the challenge that the goal I was working towards was doubling the business for inspection counts. And I believe at that time we were doing about 200 inspections a week. And my goal was to go to 400 inspections a week. So I was really dedicated to meeting that goal. I'm trying to think, there's a lot of challenges that come in that. And, how many people do I need to call? And what are how many meetings do I need to go to? And just really putting a lot of my time and energy into a lot of different things, in-person events, going to offices, a lot of phone calls, but really it's a overwhelming and exhausting process at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah. So we met, and I was speaking at an office at a real estate meeting. I remember meeting you. So what was it that I said, or what kind of aligned with you that was a little different for you than everything else that you were reading or studying or learning?
I remember the moment very well. It's like a core memory for me now of kind of approaching you. But what I was so intrigued about was the subconscious and learning about, you had talked about the subconscious and how we need to really work on that first. And that was really what kind of hooked me. And what I remember, I was so hesitant at the time because for me at that time, what I thought was a lot of money, excuse me, it was like, do I do this? And I almost just like forced myself to walk up and go talk to you. It was at a Keller Williams office in Chino Hills. And I remember grabbing the paper and signing it kind of, into the unknown, if you will. But I had tried a lot up until that point, and I figured, hey, this seems like the next step. I felt almost like I was led there in a way.
I love that. I love that. So I think, our audience listening can certainly relate to you, right? It's sometimes hard for me to explain to them the power of the subconscious mind and today I was at a talk and I said, it's kind of like a ship. You have a captain at the top and you have all the workers down below. A long time ago, an old fashioned ship, let's call it, where the guys were putting the coals in and they couldn't see anything. There's no windows. They're down there working away. And that's kind of what the subconscious mind does. It just takes direction from the captain, right? But the captain's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. They're all over the place running around, and then everyone's down there just going, okay. So the point is they have to work together. And most coaching and most programs and books and informational products, especially today with the overwhelming information we all have access to, is all just addressing that captain level going, I want to go here, but they're not working with the people below that actually steer and maneuver the ship, which the subconscious maneuvers everything. It drives all of your decision, it creates all of your outcomes and your income, and yet everyone's being taught how to make more sales, how to make more money. There's so much logical information out there. So once you decided to dive in, what would you say what was one of the things that occurred for you right after we started working together? What did you notice the most for yourself?
Well, I was skeptical, right? Like even signing up, I was kind of just like, first of all, I attending so many webinars and seminars and all these things, I didn't feel like I had applied. Like I would go and it was almost like I would just go and I wouldn't apply the things. So part of me was afraid that I was going to fail myself again, like invest again in myself and then allow it just to be another dusty book or seminar on the shelf that I didn't actually apply. I remember when we had sat together and we filmed the personal sessions, but before I had did that, I did the mental money mastery, and it was
Yes.
the CDs that you had already had made, and just learning about the relationship to money, like it's a relationship from what I recall, and some of the core fundamental paradigm shifts that I got from that were kind of mind opening, right? I grew up in South Dakota. I heard a lot of things in my household in relation to money, and listening to you kind of challenge those paradigms as I'm falling asleep really started to open my mind up to the abundance that we live in and the world that we live in, right? Like gas prices are really high right now. So, that's a pain. It's a pain, right? For some. And then it's like, but I look at all the cars and all the people that are constantly going. I'm like, there's an abundance behind this that I can either complain about it or I can become a different person and, attract more of this abundance that's all around us. So I think really it started to challenge some of those deep-seated beliefs that I was ingrained with as a kid, some of the things, my own personal beliefs about money and how to get money. And then we started on the personals, the really like, here's the nitty gritty. And I remember listening to those. I remember feeling calm when we had filmed. And now, now I know because we've worked together that you were getting me into a different brain state. You were
Yep.
taking me out of this hustle and bustle and it's like, all right, let's slow down here and let's speak to yourself differently. Put
Yes.
different words in your head. And, it was almost unbelievable some of the shifts that I had happen after listening to some of the CDs and
Yeah,
happy to
let's
more
yeah,
on that.
let's hear some of your shifts.
So I remember I had specifically asked you, hey, I want to double my income. And you even challenged that number even more. And I remember writing it down. And in my head, I recall saying, there's no way. There's no way. And now looking back, I had realized that that was my limit that I had placed on myself. If I didn't even believe that's not going to happen, there's no way. There's no way that's going to happen. That's kind of when I had written down that number, it's like, there's no way. And I had realized that that was like a script that I would say, not only about the money, finances, but there's no way that this is going to happen, or there's no way I can go on this trip. There's no way I can live in this area because of this, this, and this. And I realized I had stopped myself from, with your coaching, allowing myself to have that opportunity to even explore the thought. It was just done. Like, it was like I had made the statement in my head, there's no way, it's not going to happen. Just living in a state of disbelief and unempowered.
I love that. And you're
And
certainly
so,
not alone.
yeah,
I love
it's kind of like creating your own prison.
It really is a mental prison for people, and, it's interesting for me, like, today, I was at this event talking to a bunch of real estate agents, and even when they come up and talk to me and the things that come out of their mouth, I'm just like, "That's what needs to change," right? I can't say that to their face right there. "Hey, you just said the one thing that needs to change." But they're saying, like, "I don't have any business, I don't make any money." They're stuck in lack. There's this whole I call it the treadmill of trying thing going on for them, and it's like that is what keeps you in the mental prison. And there's not a lot of people, I would say, and the thousands of coaches and information and everything out there that actually teach you consciously what to do and then help you rewire the subconscious. So I want people to hear that outcomes that Josh got. He was getting the awareness, but then, as he mentioned, he was listening to the subconscious sessions I was making him at night. So I record those. He had CDs back then, but of course, technology has changed. Now I record them on a computer. They're MP3s. So when I work with a person, I help them discover what those blocks are, and then I make them the products, those subconscious sessions that they go to sleep to at night. And through the repetition of going into that theta delta state of mind that he was talking about as he was going to sleep, all that new data, it's almost like seeds going into a garden, getting implanted or impressed into the subconscious so that then you have new energy when you what did you know?
I would say I was way more perceptive to the opportunities that were right in front of me, and
Mm,
I was open-minded. Like, it's like I could see them now. It was
mm,
like, so going from "there's no way" and then adding a comma, "there is a way." And here's the opportunity. Now I'm seeing the opportunity. And it's like, okay, well, now I have a choice. I've
I
allowed
love
myself a choice. And just seeing, okay, but there was also some things that shifted that were external, that it was like a timing, right? It was like this serendipitous timing. But when it happens more than once, you start to question, like, okay, this is working. It's not how I thought it would come to me in this logical progression, but hey, this other big executive quit. There's a need now that I can see that needs to be filled. Somebody needs to rise up to this occasion, and that's where my choice came. It's like, well, here, I'll do it. Like, I want that opportunity. So I was able to step into a different role. We also had another hire in the company that really shared a similar growth mindset. And, we empowered the team as well. So, and then we doubled the business in a short period of time. And I had tied what I was bringing into the company was performance based. So then I was getting, and I'm like, wow. So it happened, and it happened in not a way that I ever saw. Like, it was like, it just kind of showed up. It just kind of showed up, and I was more visual to it than I was probably in the past.
I love that. I love that. I call that like when you're aligned, right? So we get some of that mental clutter out. We put new seeds of suggestions, if you will, in. And through that repetition and that rewiring process, then all of a sudden a person like yourself starts to see and experience the world, the day, the outcomes different because they feel different. They're not living in stress, they're
Yeah.
not living in lack, they're not living in overwhelm. And that's very hard to logically explain to people, especially today, because everyone's on information overload right now. I think the brain's being more distracted than it's ever been in all of history with social media and our cell phones and our iPads and our computers. I mean, the average adult spends 9 hours a day in front of a screen now. So when you think about what that is doing to the brain, I call it a brain drain. At the end of the day, people are mentally fatigued in addition to physically exhausted now, because we didn't used to have to deal with all this constant interruption, videos, text, a phone call, emails. Like, we are constantly bombarded and interrupted, which in the past, we didn't have 500 interruptions a day, probably more. So I think it's really important for everybody listening just to notice. I say your mindset, and I love the thing behind you. A mindset is everything. I think it should be the foundation of every other training you take, because there's the external how to's and the internal things,